I sit on the kitchen floor, pieces of the mug glittering like tiny knives around me. My hands shake as I reach for the drawer beside the stove. Inside, rows of color-coded folders wait like old soldiers. Bills, receipts, contracts, all perfect, all proof I am not what they say. Something hard presses against my fingers. Gavin's old phone. I forgot it was there, buried beneath years of careful order. I press the power button. The screen flickers, light spreading through the darkness. His face appears for a heartbeat before the lock screen fades. A single notification blinks at the top. Screenshot saved. I open it. Words crawl across the display, jagged, alive. Mom, once we get guardianship, the apartment's yours. Tessa, and the insurance money. Mom, we'll discuss that later. Focus on documenting her breakdowns. The phone slips from my hand and clatters to the floor. The air leaves my lungs in a violent rush. They were planning this while Noah was still breathing through tubes. While I was holding his hand, praying for one more heartbeat. I pick up the phone again, reread the lines until they burn into memory. My family was waiting for me to collapse. They didn't want to help me. They wanted my silence, my weakness, my signature. The kitchen clock ticks too loud. Each second feels like an accusation. I grab a pen and a notepad from the counter. I write every word from that message. I underline names. Dates. I will not let them twist this into madness. They will not rewrite my grief into incompetence. I call Naomi, my only friend at the courthouse. Her voice crackles through the speaker. They can't just file that without medical proof, she says. They can if the doctor signs off, I whisper. Who's the doctor? She asks. I scroll through the papers again. Dr. Lorraine Weber. I almost laugh. She's my mother's bridge partner. A dermatologist pretending to diagnose my mind. Naomi curses under her breath. You need a lawyer now. The words echo like a verdict. I end the call and sit back against the counter. The tiles are cold beneath me, grounding real. My parents were on a cruise when Noah died. Their phones off. Their messages unanswered. Now they want to control what's left of his memory. My grief becomes their currency. My love becomes their evidence. I stare at the shattered mug on the floor. Coffee stains spread across the grout like bruises. Every piece of it reflects my reflection back at me. Broken but sharp enough to cut back. I whisper to the empty room. You want what's mine, but you don't know who I am yet. Then I pick up the phone again and start searching for a lawyer. My fingers no longer tremble. Something inside me has turned to steel. The law office smells like old books and quiet judgment. I sit on the edge of the leather chair, hands locked together. Across the desk, a man studies me with calm, steady eyes. K.H. letter 1EA3I Turner, attorney at law. He was recommended by Naomi, who swore he was relentless. I slide the folder across the desk, papers trembling in my grasp. He opens it, scans the petition, then exhales slowly. Your family filed this 3 days ago, he says. Emergency hearings move fast. You've got 48 hours before the judge reviews it. His tone is factual, not cruel. He points to a signature at the bottom of the affidavit. Dr. Lorraine Weber. Do you know her? I nod. My mother's bridge partner. She's a dermatologist, not a psychiatrist. His eyebrows lift, a flicker of disbelief. That will help us. He leans back, steepling his fingers. Tell me what they want. Everything, I say. My husband's life insurance, my home, the rental property. He studies me for a moment, then speaks softly. They're claiming you're unstable. I'm grieving, not unstable. His voice lowers, patient but firm. Grief and madness are easy to confuse for those who benefit from it. Something tightens in my throat. I want to fight this. Good, he says. Because it's going to get ugly. He slides a legal pad toward me. Start listing every document that proves you manage your life. Bills, taxes, mortgage payments, anything with your name on it. I write until my wrist aches. 15 years of records. Every number a small piece of my defense. When I finish, he studies the list. You're meticulous, he says. That's not the profile of someone unfit. He pauses, choosing his next words carefully. Do you have any evidence of their motive? I unlock Gavin's phone, open the screenshot, and pass it to him. He reads the messages without blinking. When he looks up, his jaw is tight. They were planning this before your son died. I nod. He sets the phone down, voice colder now. Then we'll show the court exactly who's unstable here. He opens a drawer, pulls out a small picture frame. A boy in a hospital bed smiles from behind the glass. My son, he says quietly. Leukemia, 7 years ago. I know what grief looks like. You don't need to prove to me that you're sane. Just that you won't be silenced. My eyes sting, but I keep them steady. He slides his business card across the desk. I'll represent you pro bono. We'll fight this together. For a moment, I can breathe again. When I leave the office, the evening air feels different. The courthouse papers in my bag no longer seem like a death sentence. They're evidence. Proof that my family underestimated me. I walk to my car, start the engine, and whisper to myself. They wanted a victim. They just created a witness. The phone rings again, the same careful voice on the other end. Friends checking in, pretending it's concern, repeating my mother's words. She told them I'm having episodes. That I wander the house talking to ghosts. That grief has made me dangerous. Each lie feels rehearsed, polished, designed to isolate. I hang up before my voice can crack. Outside, the street is quiet, too quiet. Through the blinds, I see my sister unloading furniture into my rental property. A new couch, a bed, a dining set. She's moving in as if she already owns it. Across the street, Mrs. Levine watches, shaking her head. I can read the words on Tessa's lips. Taking care of things while she recovers. Recover from what, I whisper. Their version of me is spreading faster than truth ever could. The whispers crawl into every corner of my life. Neighbors look away. Emails from work grow colder, shorter, cautious. It's the perfect trap. If I fight too loudly, I prove their point. If I stay silent, I lose everything. So I choose documentation over despair. I photograph every bill paid, every meal cooked, every task completed. Timestamps, receipts, order. I download an app to record calls automatically. I start keeping a journal, not for emotion but evidence. Each page is dated, factual, clinical. The act of control becomes my rebellion. When I wake at night gasping for air, I write that down too. Panic attacks are not insanity, they're grief. And grief is proof that I loved deeply. 3 days later, the doorbell rings. An elderly neighbor stands there with a basket of bread. Sourdough. Still warm. She places it in my hands. Take all the time you need, dear, she says. Her kindness hits harder than any cruelty. It reminds me that empathy still exists outside my bloodline. I eat that bread at the kitchen table, tears falling silently. For the first time in weeks, food tastes like something other than survival. But peace never lasts long. That night, a message arrives from an unknown number. You're making this harder than it needs to be. No signature, but I know the tone. I delete it, screenshot it, save it twice. Everything is evidence now. My life has become a case file. Naomi texts later, saying the first hearing is set for Friday. 3 days. I stare at the phone until the numbers blur. I'm scared, but fear feels different now. Less like drowning, more like sharpening. Each betrayal, each whisper, each lie hardens me. I close the blinds, check the locks, open my journal. The pen moves across the page without hesitation. They think I'm broken, I write. But I'm documenting the storm. I sign my name at the bottom, bold, deliberate. Outside, the wind rises, rattling the windows like applause. For the first time, I let it. The knock comes in the middle of a quiet afternoon. 3 sharp raps, too familiar to mistake. I glance through the window and see them. My parents standing on the porch, shoulders squared, faces calm. A calm that always means danger. I open the door because hiding would only feed their story. Mom smiles, brittle and bright. We were in the neighborhood, she says. Dad carries a folder under his arm, like a weapon disguised as paper. I step aside, refusing to flinch. They walk in as if they still own the place. The living room smells of coffee and dust. Mom sits without asking. We're worried about you, she begins. You barely leave the house. I'm working remotely, I answer. Deadlines, meetings, you remember those. Her smile tightens. This isn't sustainable, Lynn. You can't handle everything alone. That's what family is for. Family, I repeat, the word tasting like iron. Dad clears his throat, straight to the point. If you fight this, the legal fees will drain everything left of Noah's insurance. The word insurance hits harder than a slap. My son reduced to a check. You didn't come when I needed help at the hospital, I say. You didn't come to the funeral planning. You only come when there's money to collect. Mom's face hardens, a shift from pity to disdain. See how irrational you sound. This is exactly why we filed the petition. My pulse slows, calm in its clarity. I don't need to convince you, I say. I only need to prove it to the court. Her lips part in surprise, but I don't give her time. I stand, open the front door. You should leave. All communication goes through my lawyer now. Dad frowns, voice rising. Lawyer, you're wasting. Goodbye. The word lands sharp and final. They exchange a look, something between fury and fear. For the first time, I see them uncertain. They leave without another word, the door closing behind them with a solid click. Silence fills the house again, but it feels different. Not empty. Clean. I breathe deeply, steady, grounded. For years, I bent myself to fit their expectations. Now, I feel the fracture sealing into strength. That night, Naomi comes over with a bottle of wine. We sit at the kitchen counter, the same place where the mug once shattered. She tells me Judge Harrison will handle the hearing. Fair but strict, she says. You'll need to be composed. I laugh softly. Composure is all I have left. Miles calls later, his voice steady and sure. We have a case, he says. And people willing to testify for you. Even Mrs. Patterson volunteered. For the first time, I realize I'm not fighting alone. The house feels lighter, stronger, alive again. I look around at the walls, at the quiet proof of my existence. They wanted to strip me of everything. Instead, they taught me what's worth keeping. The courthouse smells of old paper and disinfectant. I sit beside KH letter 1EA3I, hands folded tight around my notes. Across the aisle, my parents whisper to their attorney. Tessa avoids my eyes, twisting her wedding ring again and again. The judge enters, her expression unreadable. All rise, the bailiff says, and my legs obey before my mind catches up. The air feels thick, almost electric. When I sit, my pulse drums in my throat. Their lawyer begins with practiced sorrow. He paints me as unstable, fragile, unable to manage my life. He shows photos of me crying at my son's grave. He calls it evidence of emotional collapse. The judge studies the pictures, silent for a moment too long. Then she speaks, voice sharp but calm. A mother crying for her child is not instability. It's humanity. The room shifts, a current of quiet disbelief rippling across the benches. KH letter 1EA3, I stand slowly, confident, deliberate. Your Honor, we have evidence to the contrary, he says. He lays out folders, each marked with colored tabs. Bank statements showing 15 years of responsible payments. Property records proving I supported my parents financially. Hospital logs confirming I stayed with my son every day until the end. The judge flips through the pages, brow furrowing deeper with each turn. My mother stirs, restless. Finally, she bursts out, her voice high and desperate. She's performing, Your Honor. You should see her at home. She screams, she cries, she's unstable. The gavel cracks through the air like thunder. Mrs. Hart, sit down. You will not speak out of turn again. My mother's face goes pale, her hands trembling as she sinks back. KH letter 1EA3, I nods toward me. Your Honor, we also have written testimonies. Naomi's affidavit describing my composure when I received the petition. Mrs. Patterson's statement about my daily routine and steady behavior. Each document lands like a quiet hammer. Then comes the final piece. KH letter 1EA3, I holds up a printed screenshot, its ink still dark and clean. Messages between my mother and sister. Plans to divide my assets while my son was still in the hospital. The words echo in the courtroom, a silence heavier than sound. Tessa's eyes fill with tears, her hands shaking. My father stares at the floor, motionless. My mother's lips twitch, color draining from her face. The judge reads each line carefully, her voice low. Mrs. Hartley, did you discuss dividing your daughter's assets during that time? No answer. Only the hollow sound of shame filling the room. We'll take a short recess, the judge announces. 15 minutes. When she leaves, I exhale for the first time all day. My hands stop shaking. Across the aisle, my family huddles in panic. Their whispers frantic, their plan unraveling. I watch them, calm, steady, unbroken. For months, they tried to prove I wasn't capable. But here, under oath and light, the truth stands taller than their lies. And for the first time since the funerals, I believe I might win. The hallway hums with whispers when the recess begins. I gather my notes, pretending calm, though my pulse is thunder. Before I can breathe, they appear. My mother, father, and Tessa block my path, faces tight with panic. Mother's smile stretches too wide. Sweetheart, this has gone too far, she says softly. We should settle this as a family. Her voice trembles between guilt and strategy. Dad steps closer, lowering his tone. If you sign over the apartment to Tessa, we'll withdraw the petition. Tessa nods quickly, eyes glassy, voice shaking. It's my home now, Lynn. Please, let's not destroy what's left of us. My chest tightens, not from doubt but recognition. This isn't love. It's desperation dressed as kindness. I reach into my pocket, pull out my phone, and tap the screen twice. The red recording light blinks back at me. I lift it for them to see. I'm recording this conversation, I say. Their faces freeze, horror blooming in silence. Just like I recorded the day you called to tell me I was unfit. Mother's mouth opens, then closes again. Dad's knuckles white around the folder he's clutching. You wouldn't dare, he mutters. I already did, I reply. Miles appears beside me with 2 cups of water. Is there a problem? He asks, eyes narrowing. They offered to withdraw if I give up the property, I say. He sets the cups down with care, voice calm but cutting. That's coercion. If you don't leave now, I'll bring this to the judge immediately. They retreat, silent, retreating like shadows at sunrise. I exhale, slow and steady. Miles looks at me with quiet pride. You handled that perfectly, he says. For the first time in months, I believe him. When we return to the courtroom, afternoon light floods through tall windows. The judge reviews her notes, glasses perched low on her nose. Final arguments, she announces. Miles stands, firm and measured. Your Honor, Exhibit C, he says. The bailiff carries the folder forward. Inside, the printed screenshot, their plan in black and white. The opposing attorney rises, voice strained. This is out of context. Miles's voice slices through his protest. The context, Your Honor, is a mother and sister plotting during a child's coma. The judge studies the page, expression tightening like stone. I stand before she can speak. May I address the court? She nods once. My voice wavers, then steadies. While my son was dying, they divided what was left of my life. They called it concern. It was greed. I'm not unstable. I'm grieving. And grief is not madness. It's proof that I loved deeply. Silence fills the room, heavy and final. The judge lowers her pen. Petition dismissed with prejudice, she says firmly. Financial motive evident. My breath catches. Tessa begins to cry. My mother's face crumbles like porcelain. My father doesn't look up. The gavel falls one last time. The sound feels like a heartbeat returning. I close my eyes, letting the words sink in. Free. After everything, I am finally free. 6 months later, the mountains wake me instead of nightmares. The air tastes clean, sharp, full of promise. The cabin creaks with morning light. I pour coffee into a handmade mug and watch the sky blush pink. Silence no longer feels empty. It feels earned. The house in the city is gone, the court battles behind me. I donated the apartment to a foundation for grieving parents. Something good will finally grow from what they tried to take. A letter arrived yesterday from my mother. Apologies written in neat, perfect lines. Regret dressed as love. I read it once and placed it in a drawer. Forgiveness doesn't rush anymore. It moves at the speed of healing. 2 small spruce trees stand outside, one for Gavin, one for Noah. When the wind passes through them, they whisper softly together. I raise my mug toward the horizon, a quiet toast to survival. They called me unstable. They called me lost. But grief didn't destroy me. It remade me. And what's left now is stronger than what they ever tried to take.